Hello everybody, welcome back to my channel. It's the Derp King here, and today we'll be doing another video. And mind you guys, I told you I was going to be doing a series for yesterday, but then I realized that I could get a copyright strike for it, so I'll have to think of something else to do on Saturdays. But for Sundays, I have come up with the idea. I already told you about this. I already have the idea, and I don't even give a hell if I get copyrighted for it. Just hopefully don't get copyright striked. But I'll be reacting to horror stories. Animated horror stories, or just horror stories or horror things in general. Okay, I'll be pretty much reacting to Scary Sundays. That's what I'll be doing. It's gonna be called Scary Sundays for now. And if you guys enjoyed, leave a like, subscribe, comment for my next video, and let's get going. A cannibal.
This happened when I was in college. I was 20 at the time, studying for an upcoming exam in biology. That is, until my roommate busted in my room. She wasn't yelling, but I could see she was drunk by her excitement. I rolled my eyes and sighed. I completely lost focus now. But it was okay. I kind of gotten used to her behavior. She was a party girl while I was, well, a nerd. I tried to get back on my reading tracks again, but she patted me on the back and drunkenly giggled before speaking. "Come on, Jasmine. Every time I see you, you're always reading a book." I sighed before speaking. "And every time I see you, you smell of alcohol and vomit." She frowned at me. "How about this? I'll be quiet all week if you come to this party tomorrow at 8. I wanted to say no, but then I thought about it. I mean, I do always work really hard. Besides, she won't barge in like this for the whole week? Sounds too good, I thought to myself, so I nodded and continued to read. We got ready. I hadn't dressed up in ages, so I was kind of excited. The party was loud, filled with drunk people making out, bumping, and dancing. The party was hosted in a basement-like setting, only it was much bigger and had a lot of space. I'm not going to lie, I did have a few drinks. I wasn't drunk, but I was definitely tipsy. So, as my view became tilted, this guy comes out of nowhere and has small talk with me. He was fairly attractive. He didn't seem drunk. We met and exchanged names. From what I remember, he had red dyed hair and blue eyes. He was white.
I want that hair. I want flippin' red hair and blue eyes, because I already have blue eyes. Red hair would be freaking awesome. Sorry.
And about 6 feet.
I'll get back to
His
you.
name was Luke. We laughed and talked about topics like studying and books and that kind of thing. The talking went on for about a half an hour. He then said, "Hey, I'm going to get another drink. Want anything?" And I said, "Why not? I mean, I'm having fun." So later on,
I'm sorry, it took me a second to comprehend that smile.
I said, "Why not? I mean, I'm having..."
Okay, either she is extremely unsocial in most cases, or she is drunk as a skunk. What the hell is that face? God damn, it looks like my cat.
having fun. So later on, he came back with drinks. And the next thing I remember, we were making out in the corner of the party room. It was so quick, and then he asked me, "Want to go back to my place?" Which I politely declined. I already know what he wants. Besides, I needed to be on campus in the morning. "Come on, I promise it will be fun." I remember that he kept on trying to get me to go, but he gave up after I made it clear I wasn't interested in going to his place. He rolled his eyes angrily and gave me a paper with a number on it. "Fine. If you change your mind, give me a call." He leaned close to me and whispered against my ear. Then he walked out, and the rest of the night was a complete blank. The next day, I woke up inside my college bedroom, on my bed, next to my roommate snoring on her bed as well. As I got up to shower, a paper fell out of my pocket. It was the number, which made me remember that guy. But I had more important things now. I showered then and went to study. I remember reading my book when all of a sudden I felt dizzy. Then I woke up in the bed with police officers and nurses talking next to me. Turns out I had this dangerous allergic reaction that could only be caused from saliva or any bodily fluids that had come from decaying or rotting flesh. Which to my surprise was weird. I hadn't been kissing anyone, let alone ate anything raw. Then I remembered the guy. I told the police about the guy at the party and gave them the number he gave me. A few weeks passed and my allergies went down so I could live my life normally. I just finished my test when my phone rang. I answered it, and it was the police. Turns out the guy from the party had 2 dead, decaying women's bodies inside his apartment that he ate. They must have been there for months. My heart dropped. The thought that I made out with someone who ate human flesh, or even worse, was what if I had agreed to come to his place? I may have been one of those bodies.
When I was in the 7th grade, I heard about astral projection for the first time and thought the idea seemed pretty cool. Who wouldn't want an out-of-body experience and travel around the world? Anyways, I've been attempting it for several months to no avail. I did doubt it wasn't real and eventually stopped attempting it. Then one day on a January.
Okay, guys. I'm a druid and everything, so I do believe in a lot of different I do believe in a lot of different religions and stuff. But I do know this. I don't care what the hell you guys think. I don't care if you guys dislike my video. I don't care what really you think about it. But I do know that astral projecting is real. Because how the hell would someone come up with that? So don't ever try that, because unless you actually know what the hell you're doing, because if you don't know what the hell you're doing, you could possibly die. Sorry. I'll get back to video.
I decided to hit the bed at around 7 p.m. to take a nap, and the next second I began to feel I was being pulled out of my body as a strong vibration feeling overcame me, similar to that body feeling you get from a strong nicotine rush. I then was floating in my room and felt a presence right behind me, but didn't think much of it. It wasn't a good presence, more of a demonic one. Despite there being my family in the home awake, I didn't see anyone there, and only the light that illuminated the stairway was on. Everything also had a blue tint to it, and I could see clearly in the dark. I had to swim through the air to be able to move and went through my door and swam my way downstairs. I decided to go up and through the ceiling and then through the roof and explore this new plane of existence. However, as I went through the ceiling, I saw this creature rushing towards the stairs, and it stopped as soon as I stopped moving to see it. I could only see the back of it from the right side of it since it was blocked by a wall, but it had yellow skin, pointy, elongated ears, a tail that's medium-sized, and it appeared to be as tall as I was at the time, 5'6". I stared at it for a few seconds, frozen in fear, and before I knew it, I was awake, back in my bed. I looked at my clock and several minutes had passed by. I don't know what to think of that, but it was an interesting experience.
Okie dokie.
When I was 8 years old, I didn't have any friends. My mom wouldn't allow me to play outside with the other kids in our neighborhood.
Why the hell not? What? Okay, I live in a legitimate forest. Like, there's one road. I'm living on dirt roads in a forest area. Like, it's like a 10-minute drive until there's a lot of people. But there's like a house every once in a while there's a house. And there's like no kids around. Mind you, I go to online school, so there's like legit. So that means, and I already know that feeling. It sucks. So unless you did something like murder somebody, you should be allowed to play. Just saying.
I was always alone. The only playmates I had were my cousins and my brother, but it took 3 hours and 25 minutes to get to their houses. One day, my mom let me play outside with the kids in our neighborhood for the first time because she was going somewhere, maybe to work or to run errands. I got my dolls and other toys and was excited to play with the kids outside. When I got there, no one wanted to play with me. The attempt
Aww. Man, that's actually kind of sad. Damn. Damn, that's actually kind of sad. Fuck.
It was useless, but then someone approached me. He had puppy eyes and was cute.
Oh,
We quickly became
okay.
playmates. Even though he was a boy, he
I
would
think I've
join
seen
me
this
for
one
tea
before.
parties with my dolls. He also invited me to play with him at his house.
Okay, I take it back. I have not seen this one before. That's a freaking cracked in. That's a freaking cracked in. I bet you, like, if you went into that house, you'd see a couple million crackheads there. That looks like it's been abandoned since the freaking world, since the Civil fucking War. And also, why the hell does he have stitches around his neck? And his eyes, and his like entire body's white, and he looks like he hasn't slept in a couple of years, and his eyes are pitch black, his pupils. What the hell happened to your yard, dude? Dude, don't you know about such thing as cleaning? God, I do not want to meet his parents.
But I was confused because his house looked old and abandoned.
Yeah.
Like it hadn't been cleaned up
Isn't
for
it more
almost
like a
12
crackhead
years.
den where his
We decided to
mom-
go play in his
No, I
garden.
didn't make that joke.
When we got there, I puked. I didn't know why at the time, but for some reason, I was disgusted. He didn't offer me water or anything. He just looked at me grinning and said, "Next time, you're going to sleep here too." 2 weeks after that
No, never, ever sleep at that crackhead house. I'll give you his hint. Hold up. Well, I'm eating Smarties, but I'll give you guys a hint in life. This is just one, to help you not die. Well, it's actually more of a tip, but if you see a giant abandoned place and you're confined with your life, have a family or a house or something, or even if you're a kid, unless you're homeless or you're looking for food or something, don't go into a crackhead house. Don't go into an abandoned house. If you're trying to just do it for fun, don't go. And if you do go with a lot of people. At least like 4 or 5. If you're going to a big area like that house, I would say go with 3 friends. 3 people. So 4 in all. To explore that place. Just a tip.
upsetting experience, I went looking for him. A paper airplane flew to me out of nowhere. I picked it up, and when I opened it, I was shocked, scared, and sad. It was a newspaper clipping. The boy that I played with went missing 9 years ago. I ran to my bedroom, and I saw a shadow through my window. I looked at it closely, and it was the boy. He was smiling. Today, I'm 19 years old, and I still remember that part of my childhood so clearly.
Oh. Man who escaped from prison, broken man.
One day, when I was about 6 or 7 years old, my mom had gone to my older sister's recital in Georgia, and my dad was at work. He was a pilot for some airline. So she left me and my older brother, who was only 12 at the time, at the sitter's house, which was a few blocks away from my house. My sitter, who I'm gonna call Bev, was 19, and she was pretty much the best kind of sitter to a 6 to 7-year-old boy could ask for. She'd let us play games and stay up watching TV, as long as we didn't bother her while she was on the phone with her boyfriend.
Oh, God.
We were watching TV,
Typical
and we could hear something scratching the paneling on the side of the house.
Okay, I said a typical white girl. I'm not being sexist. I'm not being racist. I'm just saying. That's a typical white girl. There's 3 things that you must know about typical white girl. They are addicted to their phones. They are addicted to Starbucks. And if you date them, run like hell.
Naturally, we blew it off as a stray animal, so we continued watching TV.
What is that
Blew it
face
off
change?
as a
Like, look,
stray animal,
they look so scared in this minute, and then look what happens when they turn back to the TV.
so we continued watching TV.
What the hell?
About 30 minutes to an hour later, Bev ran into the living room and locked the front door and shut the blinds. We were curious as to what she was doing. Me and my brother, being kids, got scared and started crying. Then Bev said everything would be okay. It was just a peeping Tom. So she took us upstairs and we went to her parents' room with the Nintendo and some snacks. She said stay put and not to touch anything we didn't bring into the room. Not a minute later after she walked out of the room, we heard a loud crash and glass shattering in the room below us. The sicko had thrown a brick from the walkway through the guest bedroom window and managed to get in. I remember Bev running into the room and pulling us into the closet and telling us we were going to play a game of hide and seek and to be very quiet. She got out of the closet and locked it from the outside latch and disappeared. Several minutes passed and we could hear a grown man screaming, come out wherever you are. I only want to play." Then I heard what sounded like water running in the bathroom across from the closet. Then it shut off. And I heard Bev yelling something at the man. It was something like, "The police are on their way. You better get out of my fucking house now." Then we could hear loud, heavy footsteps sprinting out of the room, and then sirens wailing in the distance. Bev shrieked, and we heard a loud thud on the ground below us. Bev had managed to find an old wooden bat. As the man turned a corner to go out the front door, Bev swung the bat as hard as she could, knocking the man to the floor.
Oh, that must have hurt.
Dazed, he got up and tried chasing her outside, but the cops had already arrived and tackled the man on sight. My mom came home immediately and took me, my brother, and Bev back to my house. A few years later,
Dude, I would give that babysitter a tip of like $1,000 at least. She just legit saved my kids. Like, if I was like that mom in that situation, or if I was the mom or dad, I'd give that babysitter a tip of $1,000 and be grateful for the rest of my goddamn life for saving my kids.
later, she explained that the man was a known sex offender and had escaped from prison. In the report, he was said to be carrying a rather large knife in his pocket and had a Saturday night special tucked away in the waist of his pants.
It happened last year, 2018, when I was still in my second year of high school. It was earlier March that I was in school. We were just playing some quiz game on my laptop. I connected it to the projector for all of them to see. But then suddenly the school's fire alarm went off. They said this isn't a drill, but rather a maniac just entered our school with a gun. So all of us closed the door and the window to our classroom and switched off the lights. It was all silent, like you could hear a pin drop to the floor. At first I wasn't panicking that much, but it all started to happen when a gunshot was heard from the distance of our room. I can assume that he already knows that we're here. We are the closest room from the entry hall. Every single one of my classmates was crying. I'm the tallest and the oldest student of them all. I'm 16 and some of them are 15 and 14 and another one is 12. So I thought, I'm the oldest. I should protect them. And I was like that. So then I grabbed the fire extinguisher in our room, because every single room in my school has a fire blanket and a fire extinguisher, just in case of a fire. I had a stupid plan inside my head that I'll spray him with the fire extinguisher. So then I opened our room door, and I came across it. He was a middle-aged man wearing a white tank and black slacks. He was holding a .44 Magnum caliber revolver. At first, we were having a quick draw match, like that. He grabbed his gun first and pulls the trigger. I can feel my heart beating fast, and just then he aimed the gun at me, but it didn't shoot at all. He forgot to cock his gun, so then it's my chance to hit him with the fire extinguisher and knock him out. After that, the police arrived and every student was reunited with their family. And still, I'm wondering, what could have happened if he didn't forget to cock his gun and shoot me first?
My name is Magda, and I'm 26 years old. I work in an office in the city. On the weekends, I used to love to get away from all the hustle and bustle and take a trip to the countryside. Luckily, I have a cottage in a small village which is located right at the edge of the forest. How I used to love to get out of the city and spend the weekend in my little cottage. Why did I stop? Well, I'll tell you. After a hard week at work, I needed to rest, so I decided to get out of town. I went home, packed my bags, threw them in the trunk, and drove off. When I arrived in the village, it was late in the evening and I was tired from the long drive. I went straight to bed and fell asleep quickly. In the middle of the night, I was awakened by the sound of my car alarm going off. I looked out the window, but there was nobody in sight. I found my car keys, pressed the button to shut off the alarm, and the awful noise stopped. I laid back down and tried to fall asleep. All of a sudden, the alarm went off again. I didn't feel like getting up, so I just grabbed my keys and pressed the button once more. Everything was peaceful and quiet again. However, 5 minutes later, the alarm went off a third time. Once or twice could have been an accident, but now I was wondering what was going on. Could someone be playing tricks on me in the middle of the night? I got up again and pressed the button to turn off the alarm. But this time, I didn't lay back down. I stood at the curtains and watched. After a few minutes, I saw something by the light of the moon. A shadow emerged from the bushes and slowly approached the car. I could just about make out the shape. It was something tall, skinny, and black. The figure reached out with its long, thin arms and knocked on the car. The alarm went off again, and quick as a flash, the dark figure retreated back into the bushes. At that moment, I realized what was going on and began shaking with fear. I turned off the alarm and continued to watch. The thing emerged from the bushes again, slid silently over to the gates, threw a hand through them, and removed the partition holding the gates closed. I was paralyzed with fear, and I couldn't move. My mind was overcome by panic thoughts. What was it? What did it want from me? What was it doing? Would it ever go away? A shiver ran through my body, from my head down to my toes. My mouth was dry and my heart was beating fast. I was so tense, I was gritting my teeth and clenching my hands into fists. I regained control of myself and ran down the stairs as fast as my legs could carry me to the ground floor. I wanted to look for something I could use to protect myself. However, just as I was about to switch on the lights, I suddenly froze in my tracks. The dark figure was at the window. It was pressed up against the glass, staring in, looking to see whether or not there was someone home. I immediately ducked down behind the sofa and peered out. That's when I realized what all those tricks with the car were for. It was trying to lure its victim outside. I couldn't take my eyes off its hideous face. Its skin was the color of ash and covered with wrinkles. Its eyes were small.
You know what? I was gonna say no to the joke, but that's what every man looks like after he had a Playboy magazine.
Beady and completely black. Instead of it having a nose, there were 2 ragged holes. It didn't have any lips, just 2 rows of sharp, yellow teeth. When it breathed, it was so heavy and hoarse that it was misting up the window. I just knew it wasn't going to go away. After standing at the window for a few moments, I heard a rustling noise as it came to the front door. I watched as it tried to push its fingers through the gap under the door. The handle began to twitch wildly up and down. The creature emitted a chilling sound. It was not like a human voice. It was a deep, beastly growl, like an angry dog chewing on a bone. I knew that if it heard me, it would keep trying until it found a way to get into the house. I crouched down behind the sofa, hiding in the shadows and desperately trying not to make a sound. Tears began involuntarily streaming down my face, no matter how much I tried to stop them. I could feel my pulse pounding in my temples, and I was shaking like a leaf, just waiting for it to end. I don't know how long I cowered there. I must have been passed out. When I woke up and looked out the window, the creature was gone. The door was still in place and everything seemed secure. I've never been so relieved in all
I really don't believe that. Look up or something, or like turn around.
my life. I ran upstairs and looked out the window. It was light outside, and there was no sign of anything wrong. Taking a chance, I grabbed my keys, and without stopping to collect any of my things, I ran out to the car. I jumped in, locked the doors, and drove away from the village as fast as I could.
Was
I
somebody in the
didn't
car?
stop driving until I got back to the city. When I got back to my apartment, I turned on the radio and heard a news report. The announcer said that, in the village, the dead bodies of 2 girls had been discovered. Their corpses had been mutilated and dumped in a swamp. I guess the creature found what it was looking for. I don't want to, but I am curious to know. What would have happened if I didn't make the right decision of sprinting?
Miniskirt horror story.
Years ago,
What?
when I was in the 5th grade, my friends and I were walking home from school when we noticed some of the other kids laughing very loudly at something and running away like they were disgusted. We looked back and they were laughing at this woman who was walking behind us. We didn't know why because we saw her every day when we were walking home from school. We just never spoke with her, or we never even seen her up close. We moved closer to see what was so funny, and we definitely noticed what the other kids were making ruckus about. This was a man dressed in a miniskirt with high heels on. The other kids were throwing sticks and rocks at it, but he never responded. He just smiled while he was walking. A few days later, I just so happened to be watching the news and I saw the same guy's face on the news. My friend who lives around the corner was getting her mail when she saw the man across the street watching her. He waved and he started skipping across the street like a little girl while loudly asking her, "Do you remember me?" She was one of the kids that threw rocks at him. She shut her door as he started running full speed toward her house while wearing a wig, miniskirt, heels, and a woman's tank top. He started banging on her door until she called the police. He was caught within minutes. Anything could have happened to us that day, with this guy roaming our neighborhood. But luckily, nothing ever happened to any of the kids that I knew.
I saw my brother's doppelganger.
This story happened when I was 18 years old and a senior in high school. It was an ordinary night. My dad worked the night shift, so we all decided to sleep in my parents' room. I was with my younger brother, who was 15 years old at the time, my younger sister, who was 11 years old, and my mom. My parents' room was a small, purple, square-shaped room, which also had a bathroom. The bathroom's door was across from the bed. My younger brother and I slept on my parents' bed while my mom and my younger sister slept on the floor. Before sleeping, we all had a short conversation, and after that, we went to sleep at 9 p.m. At 2 a.m., I was awakened by a strange sensation. As I opened my eyes, I had my eyes fixed on the bathroom door, which was cracked open. To my surprise, I noticed a black figure, which looked exactly like my younger brother. The figure stood there with his arms crossed, watching me. However, his eyes were shut. At that moment, I froze. I couldn't move from the bed, and I was scared that if he opened his eyes, he would have red or bloodshot eyes. I decided to quietly turn my head to the other side of the bed to see if it was indeed my brother. My heart sunk to my stomach when I realized that my brother was sleeping right next to me. So many thoughts kept racing through my head. Who is this person? Why is he here? How could he look exactly like my brother? I tried as hard as possible to sleep and ignore what I saw. A few minutes later, after opening and closing my eyes, I was shocked to see that the figure was now standing above me, still looking right into my eyes with his eyes shut. My eyes were wide open from the shock. I felt like I was going to die from a heart attack. I felt as if he was starting to open his eyes, which scared me and caused me to close my eyes and force myself to sleep. Forcing myself to sleep worked, and the next thing I knew, it was morning. When I woke up, I headed to the living room and saw my mom. After holding it inside for a bit, I gave up and told my mom about the incident. I almost froze when she said she saw the same exact figure and witnessed what happened. It was terrifying. We both saw the same black figure that looked exactly like my brother. It was as if he was my brother's twin. We lived in that house for 2 more years until we finally moved out. After the move, we told my dad about this story because he doesn't like hearing creepy stories, so we kept it a secret until we moved. He surprised us by saying that we were not alone. He saw some strange things in that house as well.
That's actually pretty good. CSGO, seriously?
When you think of Counter-Strike Global Offensive, the last thing you'd think of was a horror story. But yet, here I am. It was the summer of 2014 and I was bored and home alone, so naturally I hopped on CSGO. I went to Dust Online to play some casual. It wasn't a very busy lobby, there was about 5 people on each side. I joined Terraced, where I quickly discovered the only other person with a mic was a guy whose name was something like Smarties McFlurry. He sounded a lot older than me, I was 14 at the time. His name was Dave and we got along well and we played good together since we had the same number of skill. We eventually played more CSGO together and then friended each other on Steam. After that, he asked for some of my social media and I gave him my Discord and Snapchat. Then on CSGO, Dave suddenly said he had to leave and we could play more tomorrow. So I got off and watched some TV and eventually went to sleep on the couch. I was home alone for the night. At like 1 a.m., I awoke and got a glass of water. Then I heard a Snapchat notification from my phone. Curious as to who was sending snaps at this time of night, I picked it up and saw it was from Dave. I opened it, and it was a picture of my front lawn and house. The phone and the glass of water fell from my hands to the floor, and my heart began to race. I was suddenly frozen, as if rooted to the spot. The darkness around me seemed to become thicker, and I swear I was seeing shadows all around me. Then I heard a knock at the glass. I turned to the back window, and there he was, the Dave guy, who looked a lot older and creepier than me. Without thinking, I ran to the back door, locked it. I also locked the front door. I could hear him calling to me through the window. Then I proceeded to run to the only windowless room, the bathroom. I stayed in there for about an hour, shaking and fearing the worst. I dreaded hearing the sound of Dave calling me again, a knock at the door, or even footsteps outside. I don't know how long it was before I fell asleep. The next morning, my parents arrived home, and I hesitated to tell them about my experience. I knew they would drop shit on me, but it wasn't just that. I was questioning whether or not I was dreaming when the Dave guy appeared at my house. I knew I had not been dreaming playing CSGO with him though. However, when I checked my phone, it was like he didn't exist. He was not on my friends list in CSGO, his Steam account was gone, his Discord was gone, and even his Snapchat was gone, all deleted. To this day, I still question my sanity about whether or not this Dave guy who I played CSGO with really existed. I know for sure we had chatted on the game, on Discord and on Snapchat, but had he really come to my house? And why were all of his online accounts deleted? I really don't know.
I rode with a ghost.
I was in my friend's birthday party. It was 11 p.m. After the party, I drove my friend to their house, 2 hours away drive from the party we'd been. When we went to their village,
Oh yeah, and also, sorry about pausing it, but the last video, the CSGO horror story, I think I know why the dude asked for a Snapchat. Is because there's like, I can't remember the fucking thing anymore. I remember there's like a tracker, like a Find My Friend thing. That's probably how he got it, because he sent a photo on Snapchat, so.
it's a pretty big village, and most of the owner is rich. While I was driving, there was a street there, kind of 500 meters long, and is very dark and creepy. The car I was driving is a Toyota Revo. It has 11 seating capacity, and we are just 3 inside the car. I passed that creepy street, I'm kind of scared because it's dark, and a lot of trees that full of leaves and brushes. There's no street light. It's just my car headlights that give light on the road. After we pass that street and I'm dropped them on their house and I'm just alone to go back to my home. But I was scared because there's no alternate route. I really need to pass that creepy street in their village. I have no choice but to be brave. So, when I'm about to pass that street, it's really dark, but I have no choice but to pass that creepy street. While I was driving on that creepy street, about in the middle of it, suddenly, I felt cold, but my aircon temperature was not that cold. And suddenly, my back of the neck starts to feel cold. When I look in my rear mirror view, I saw something sitting on the back of Sit looking at me. It's a woman and wearing white clothes and red eyes. I was so scared, so I drive too fast and my car engines start making a lot of noise, and so fast. There's a speed bump, but I didn't stop. My car started to slam its front bumper on the road when I drive too fast in the speed bump because I was so scared, until I reached the guardhouse office. I told the guards what happened, and they told me there was really a ghost on that street because one time there's a tricycle was passing that street, and woman asked if she could get a ride, so the tricycle driver let her ride, and she told the driver to drive her to the hospital. When they arrived at the hospital, the tricycle driver was so shocked because the woman she picked up was not inside the tricycle. And my friend told me there's a story on that street several years ago that a girl was murdered and raped on that street because it was a lot of dark and tall bushes. So when I'm driving alone, I always ask someone to come with me during night. And I don't want to drive alone at night anymore because I don't want to see again someone's ghost riding again with me. I hope her soul rests in peace.
I apologize, guys. It always makes me sick to have two things on my mind. Is one, I'm depressed to be a human, and two, I'm depressed to be a male. Because of the fact that this bullcrap happens. Like, girls get raped and murdered. It's like, what the hell? 99% of the time, it is by guys. So what the actual fuck? This world is screwed. But I'm gonna be dead serious, guys. If you're gonna be like walking alone in the woods, or if you're gonna be walking alone in the woods or something, take precaution. Bring like a weapon, or like be near someplace. Have like someone outside or something just to be able to make sure that you're not gonna die. And like, just try to keep safe, or this might happen to you, and that's the last thing you want. I'm not saying about the ghost thing. I'd be fine if a ghost got in my car. I'd probably be talking to it. But like getting raped and murdered, just I hope that never happens. And if any of you guys have gotten like raped or murdered or sexually assaulted, I am so sorry for that. But leave a comment below if you have, and if you don't want to, it's fine. But yeah, so yeah. Let's get started. I'll say let's get started. But let's get Instagram horror story animated. I think I've already seen one.
I was a big Tinder guy a few years ago.
Nope, I haven't seen it.
Everywhere I went, I would update my location and then update, my body count. Then I quit doing Tinder and stuck with Instagram. I know, they're completely different, and IG has a bunch of fake accounts. So I saw this girl commenting on all of my friends' pictures. Then she commented on mine. I also saw my friends replying, so I figured she was a real person because I looked on her page and she had way more followers than people she was following. So I DM'd her. I definitely thought she wasn't going to reply, but she did within an hour. We talked for maybe 2 or 3 weeks and we made it official. She was pretty, had a degree, and a good job, as she said. I felt she was out of my league and too perfect. Every day she posted new photos, and I told my friends about her and they seemed pretty jealous, except for my friend Ryan. He said I was stupid because I never spoke with her, and I only messaged her. She invited me over because she said she can cook. Ryan told me to don't go. The rest of my friends said don't have any kids, and they would laugh. So I went over there, but not without Ryan calling me a clown first. The GPS said she lived about an hour away. When I first started to talk to her, she told me that she lived in a nice neighborhood. But when I got there were people everywhere and the neighborhood was not that nice. When I stopped at the stop sign at the corner, people walked up to my windows and asked me, what do I need? But I pulled off really fast and got to the house. It was a duplex, so I messaged her and she said to come up the stairs. It was about 9 at night and people were everywhere just standing around. I knocked on the door and I was definitely excited. The door opened and to my surprise, it was a bald-headed white guy with a patchy beard, tattoos everywhere including his head with a tank top on. I asked, was Lisa home? And he said, yeah, come in. When I walked in, I was immediately hit with a musty smell mixed with cheese. He told me to sit down, and he sat down across from me on the couch. He said she'll be out soon. He asked me did I want something to drink, and I said, yeah, sure. When I got up, I texted her, can she come out, please? She immediately said yes. The man came back in with 2 cups of juice, one for him and one for myself. Then I noticed that he put a phone down on the table next to him. So I acted like I sneezed and got some on my arm. Then I asked for a tissue. He went to get some tissue and he left his phone like I thought he would. I texted her back, and to my horror, the phone